What's up, J-Brones? Live from Brooklyn, New York and Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada, this is the Torture Wracked podcast. I am your host, Marc Basque. My co-host is John F. Malta, and we are very happy to be here with you, our friends in wrestling. John, say something, let the people know you're alive, pal.
What's going on, dude? Real stoked to be here. I am seconds away from finishing Torture Wracked issue 4. It's crazy that it's finally done. 164 pages, one illustration left.
Your hand is hovering over the save button as we speak.
About to press save, send to the printer.
You know what? You probably should save it earlier than this, just in case something happens.
Yeah,
that's
just
true.
An
illustrator
I got backup files on my external hard drive.
I got floppy disks of backups.
Yeah, it's saved to Google Drive, it's saved to my external hard drive, it's saved to my floppy disk. I recorded it onto a VHS tape.
Jeff Bezos has a copy in his vault just in case.
But yeah, it's like, it's pretty close to being done. It'll be done today. After this, I got one illustration left to do. Last night while we were watching In Your House, I finished the second last illustration, which was for my 2019 Year in Review article. The illustration heavily features Jushin Thunder Liger in memoriam of his, well, maybe not in memoriam, that sounds bad, commemorating his retirement tour, and also features Cody, Darby Allin, Jon Moxley, and Shibata, which I was going back and looking through different illustrations that I had made initially for issue 4. Like, I intended to put out issue 4 last year, like at the end of last year.
I was going to say, because you just said there was a 2019 review.
Yeah, I could do. I thought about it. I was like, do I update this and make it a 2020 year in review? But like, it was fun going back through 2019 in the year of wrestling, because I still finished, like, I just finished writing that article like last week, and I went back and found some of the initial drawings I did for that article, and the first drawing that I did was of Shibata kicking Kenta in the face, and that happened at the G1 Climax Finals, which would have been like, definitely late summer, early fall. I don't remember the actual final date off the top of my head. So yeah, it's crazy to think that that far back I was thinking of doing issue 4, and it just kind of grew because I brought you into and asked you if you wanted to write anything, and you wrote your Intercontinental title article. And I know that when we first talked about this, you had thought that it was even earlier than the beginning of this year that you had finished that.
I felt like
and
it was maybe around like September when I started it.
Yeah, so, and I think you're right, because I in my mind was planning to put it out for Comic Arts Los Angeles, but then in booking and planning my trip to Wrestle Kingdom, put it off so I could feature that as like an article in the 4th issue, and then that grew into realizing that I have enough content to build where it's at now, which is 164-page wrestling book.
So for all these many thousands of listeners who want to purchase, who want a copy of Torture Wracked Season 4, what's the deal with that? How do they get it?
It'll be posted to johnfmalta.bigcartel.com once it's good to go. Most of the people that are listening that would want to buy it will likely be able to find it. It'll be pretty easy to find. Yeah, and then the other last illustration I finished was of one of my favorite matches of all time, the Great Muta versus the Great Nita, which I want to have you watch this match as a classic match, but it's also a death match. But I can
get into that.
It's like not like for everyone that watches death match, I think a lot of people think like everything in a death match is real. Like there's this perception online that like Jon Moxley actually took like a saw to the head, but in an interview he talks about how they dulled the blade and it basically just moved the blood around his head. And in this, the Great Nita has like a kind of like a small Grim Reaper sickle. It's like a Sith, but it's small and handheld. And he hits Muta with it a lot, but Muta's like outfit for the match is like this huge, elaborate, like it's barely ever hitting him, like the thing that kind of makes it a death match. And it's like an exploding barbed wire death match too. I'll probably have you watch it at some point. But
I'm in.
In drawing
I hear scythe, I hear exploding death, I'm in.
The reason I drew that though was because I finally found on eBay this watch that was produced commemorating one of Onita's retirements, which I'm going to show on the video. May 5th, 1995, Onita fought Hayabusa in another very incredible match that I think I'll probably have you watch in our classic match segment as well at some point. But I'd been looking for this watch for quite a while. And
you've been looking for this watch?
Yeah, totally.
That was on your radar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I seen it, like, I forget where I saw it first. I oftentimes will comb through like old, like I'll just do searches on Etsy and eBay and online for different like wrestling programs and catalogs. And on Etsy, there was an old FMW program, and in that program was this watch. So I will do searches on eBay randomly that like Great Nito watch, Onita watch, and like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, this watch finally came up on eBay.
Wow!
And it really like, yeah, it's such a cool watch. The printing on it is like insane. It's like really weird that this exists as an item that was produced. To me, like that you could buy a watch that commemorates a death match that happened in 1995.
That's awesome.
15, 20, 25 years later, after it happened. But yeah, it just made me, I just was thinking like, I don't know, it made me so happy when this showed up. And I still love like collecting wrestling memorabilia, wrestling figures, and
it's so funny. I used to make fun of people like, go to a record shop or a comic book shop and like, who would buy these like, these Freddy Krueger toys or this or that, or these like Transformers. And then I see like the new wrestling, the AEW figures that are coming out. And I'm like, holy shit. Like I'm about to drop $300 Canadian on like all this shit right now.
Yeah. Are you going to get that scale ring? Have you made the decision yet?
I have put it in my cart so many times and got to the end where it says how much money it is, hesitated, closed the thing. I keep getting emails from Ringside Collectibles like, your cart's about to expire, and I'm like, let it die. But it's really hard to figure out because I don't know. I haven't played with a wrestling figure since I was a child. But like I see that scale ring and I'm like, I could play with that.
Time to book a card.
I could book a whole card. So when I was a kid, I used to book cards with my toys, but I started by using my wrestling figures, but they didn't have enough points of articulation to do the kind of roundhouse kicks and crazy shit that I wanted to do when I was a kid. So I actually started using my G.I. Joes to like...
Oh, that's funny. They have the articulation on the G.I. Joe is like the articulation on like current wrestling figures.
Yeah, it's much more. But I would like use my fingers, like make it a little hand, and I would like, control these guys. Like one finger was each arm, and like the other two fingers were the legs, and I would like, I would book these whole cards, and I wish I still had those because I had a stack of loose leaf paper that was like pay-per-views, and I recently found these G.I. Joes, and I still remember some of their names. And some of the storylines, like how they're related and stuff. I have M. Bison, but his glowy hand,
the glow
has
hand
been sharpened into like a claw. I think I did it on purpose. I did all this stuff to things on purpose. Like I cut off Chris Jericho's ponytail because I thought it wasn't cool when I was a kid. So now
you made him 2008 Chris Jericho.
Pretty much. I'm a fucking Nostradamus. But yeah, and I like drew blood on some of their faces and stuff. That was such a trip to find.
Oh my god, dude, totally. Yeah, me and my little brother used to buy, like at Halloween, we'd stock up on fake blood packets.
Yeah.
So that way, like throughout the year, we could add blood to our wrestling figure matches.
Yeah. That's
like
awesome.
I have a Gangrel that's sitting on the shelf right by me. that's covered in fake blood.
Oh, I would have thought that was like part of the toy. That actually looks sick.
Yeah, because it's Gangrel, so it makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, and the fake blood, I feel like there's like some layers of transparency to it.
That's sick.
Do you remember the first wrestling figure that you bought, and like what it was?
No, I don't. I would suspect it would probably be like The Rock.
Like earliest figures were probably like Jakks Pacific figures, do you think? Or were you buying like Hasbro, like early 90s figures as well?
No, I wasn't buying early 90s figures. Even when I went to yard sales, I don't think I ever bought old wrestling because I don't have any, and I kept most of my wrestling figures. I would say probably The Rock, but I can tell you that I grew up, and obviously this is pre-internet, and Walmart never had all the figures. They only would have some of them. So like I would go over to my friend's house and he would have like Rob Van Dam, and I was like, where did you find that? It blew my mind. Like I go to Toys R Us, wouldn't see these things, Walmart. And I can tell you the one that I wanted the most was Scotty 2 Hotty, because I was such a Too Cool fan.
Dude, Too Cool ruled. You never got a Scotty 2 Hotty?
I feel like I did, but it's not in my figures that I found under the stairs and like at my parents' house. Like, so I feel like I wouldn't have gotten rid of him, but I seem to remember having him and losing his
hat,
his visor.
Yeah,
he had
the cut-off bucket hat.
The cut-off bucket hat, yeah, that stuck his hair through. It's so funny if you go back and look at Too Cool. They are like the least cool people in the world.
Yeah, it's funny to think back because I do remember the very first wrestling figure that I had.
What was it?
Jake the Snake Roberts.
Wow, with Snake?
Yeah, with Snake. Hasbro, like early 90s. Probably got it in like 1992, maybe 1991. It was my dad's friend Buck bought it for me. I don't know why. Like he just was hanging out. It was a good friend of my dad's. He would hang out with us a lot, so we called him Uncle Buck, and he would bring us wrestling figures every now and then. And the first wrestling show I went to, Uncle Buck went to that wrestling show with us, and he was a big part of our like family when I was really young. But
just to be clear, did they adapt this into a Hollywood film starring John Candy?
Yeah, exactly. That's my way of sharing that information about my early years.
It was really interesting when he came in with like the hockey mask and stuff.
It would be pretty funny if I really like that movie, but don't remember it enough to like transition into me
just starting
to
scenes from Uncle Buck. I just was on TV the other day and I was watching it, and that's the only reason.
But I, as an adult, have not talked to Uncle Buck. I've not seen him since I was a little kid. For no reason. I think it's just like maybe my dad and him grew apart as friends. I'm not sure, but he bought me my first wrestling figure, which was Jake the Snake Roberts. And I remember being at a recreational football game that he and my dad were both the referees of. And I threw Jake the Snake up into a tree.
What?
And he got stuck, and it was really, really high up. So
did you have to call the fireman?
I mean, just as tragic as a cat getting stuck in a tree. 1990s Jake the Snake Hasbro.
Snack. Yeah.
No, we did not call the fire department, but all of the adults spent a lot of time trying to get it out of the tree because I was really upset that it was stuck, like for obvious reasons, because I loved that toy and took it everywhere with me. And still have it on a shelf.
Then Uncle Buck came and plucked the tree straight out of the ground and shook Jake free.
Exactly. That's
and
exactly
everyone rejoiced.
Well, so do you have, like, do you remember maybe like the last figures that you bought or figures that you...
I definitely remember the last ones I bought because it was not very long ago.
Yeah, I maybe mean like... Because there was a time where you stopped buying wrestling figures, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. There was a very large portion of my life, my formative years. I would say the last wrestling figure I bought was probably when I was, maybe 12 or 13, and did not continue until I was 30 years old. So
Yeah, like the only ones that I definitely am the same. Like I think the last few that I bought like were the ECW figures. They were at a discount like grocery store by my parents' house.
Nice.
And they were cheap. They were cheap enough for me to like be cutting lawns and to go there and buy like a couple of them. Like they were probably like, I don't remember the price, but I bet they were like $3 or $4 at that store. And they had them all for a long time, for like a couple years. Like I remember like it was probably like late, like 1999, 2000. So I would have been like 12, 13. Yeah, because it was like cutting lawns. And also umpiring baseball games. So
I did that.
Did you really?
I did that for one game.
Dude, that job sucks. Why did you only do it for one game?
That's a great question. So I was, one of my coaches was like, "Do you want to umpire?" And I was like, "Well, I barely understand the rules of baseball, but
dude, same. Yeah,
okay.
It's like I know how to play the game." And I kind of get like what a strike, like I understand what a strike zone is, but it's like you don't know all of the
concept of a strike zone.
Yeah, it's like how are you supposed to call it? You're like 12, and you have authority on adults.
Child. Okay, so they're throwing stuff, and I'm literally just calling whatever, like ball strike. Like I'm calling balls when they swing, and the team, one of the team coaches. Was so mad at me, and he like just kept razzing me the whole game. He's like, "Come on up!" and yell, and I just like cried and like left the game. Never to ump again. That was the end of my umping career.
I think I did it for like a whole summer, but
good for
like
you.
You
weren't heckled out the first game. That is a good start.
It did give me like I think probably my earliest memories of feeling like kind of like anxiety as like a child. Like I mean you obviously feel like nervous or like but a lot of times as a kid, since you're with your parents, you always feel safe in most situations. I mean ideally you would feel safe in like a situation, and I feel like but on your own volition, it's like my parents would drop me off to umpire and then I'd be there alone. It's not like I would know anybody there for the people that I was umpiring games for. Yeah,
exactly.
So I was there alone, and I'm calling a game that adults are taking way too seriously.
Way too seriously. It is a weird transition for a child to make from player to umpire. Seems like something you would do like in your 50s or something. You know what I mean?
Like you've had a storied career, and now like you're gonna like
now you understand all
boots.
of the rules of baseball, and you're gonna use that for the next generation. That's like if you were 14 and they put you on like color commentary. Like
this kid watches. Yeah, it's like this kid watches wrestling. Let's throw him on commentary. He's probably good. Where are his parents at? Let him go. But yeah,
we'll be right back for the Torture Wracked Umpire podcast.
We're talking umps today, boys.
Is this an episode of We Love Umps?
But yeah, dude. Anyways, I would umpire to save up money so I could go to this grocery store, which was called Jody's, now called Marc's, at the Shoregate Shopping Complex. Outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and I'd buy ECW figures, and those figures were really, really cool and really insane. Like, I have a couple different New Jack figures, and I still have them. And the New Jack
I don't know why I thought you were when you were saying nude, I was like, I have a couple like nude Dudley Boys figures, like fully nude, like you can't even put clothes on them.
No, but the Dudleys are cool. The details on them, like all of the details on the ECW figures, everyone has like really cool shirt graphics. That are very detailed. And New Jack, like, he is wearing everything he wears to the ring. So he has, like, a No Limit Soldier shirt on and, like, a noose around his neck. And, like, his full ring gear where it's like, this is produced for a child based off of a hyper-violent wrestling promotion. And I'm able to just ride my bike to the grocery store and buy these figures. But it makes, and in thinking about that, like there really was no like time period between the last figures that I bought and the figures that I still buy now. In between those times, the only figures that I bought and me and my little brother would buy for each other were like off-brand dollar store wrestling action figures. Like there's really cool ones, and that's like a type of action figure that I have like a whole shelf of to the left of me right now, is like random weird off-brand dollar store figures. But yeah, the new AEW figures now, it's like, oh, I think I'm going to buy some new... I haven't bought like any new wrestling figures in a while, but now with these new AEW figures, those Lucha Bros are looking real sick.
It looks so awesome. In my cart, currently in Ringside Collectibles, I have the scale ring, which comes with Kenny Omega. I have Cody, whose tights look tight, and he's got the fucking sledgehammer and everything, the Triple H sledgehammer. And who was the last one? Oh, yeah, Painmaker Jericho.
Dude, Painmaker Jericho looks tight. Yeah.
They look so tight. The chests are weird, but I know it's because they have more articulation. So I'm like okay with it, but they all have like these weird like caved in chests.
Aesthetically, I hate how that looks so much. Yeah, like yeah. I like the figures that come with like a vest or a coat to put it over it, because I would say like of all time, like my favorite designed figures in wrestling are probably those ECW figures, just because of how they're kind of designed in the way that like old Godzilla toys are designed, which I imagine a lot of like people who are really into figures don't like, which is that like they're like not really articulated and they kind of are just very rigid, almost like little sculptures.
Right.
But yeah, those I definitely am going to buy the Lucha Bros.
I want a wrestler that can do a super kick. Like, that's what I want. I want a wrestler who it's not like I don't have to bend them over to like touch their toes to make them do a super kick.
Do you think these new AEW toys are gonna do that?
They're gonna pass the super kick test for sure.
That's a good Does it pass the super kick test? ECW toys, no. AEW toys, yes.
I can't wait to find out. I can't wait to do an unboxing video for all of our many fans.
Dude, yeah. I have to I got to put an order into Ringside Collectibles too. I don't think I'm going to get the scale ring. Just, I already don't really actually have no shelf space in my studio right now for anything. Really, I kind of have maxed out. I'll need to buy another shelf, I think, just for wrestling figures.
Wow. If I bought the scale ring, it would be with every intention of using it and booking my own.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, we are for sure throwing down on some St. Hubert's, some Swiss Chalet, and booking a card. Next time I'm in Moncton, New Brunswick.
Well, I love to get these new AEW guys, too, because I love the idea of just booking these matches with wrestlers throughout history as if they were all in their prime at once. Like in the front there, I had, Kevin Owens versus Stone Cold. No, and AJ Styles versus Stone Cold, and these sick matches that...
Dude, yeah, the potential for matches is limitless. Stone Cold versus... Who would you throw Stone Cold versus out of the new AEW line?
The new AEW line?
Yeah.
Oh, is there a Mox figure? Stone Cold versus Mox.
Yeah, there's gonna be.
Absolutely.
Is there anyone that they have not yet released that you hope they make a figure of that isn't as obvious as some?
Luchasaurus.
Oh yeah, dude, there needs to be like a 13-inch Luchasaurus with a Marco stunt that's like a little Keshi, like that's like this size.
It just like sits on his shoulder.
And maybe a Marco Stunt and a Jungle Boy that are both like tiny Keshi figures.
Oh my gosh. That would be awesome. You know who else would be sick? We've talked about this before, but James Havoc with his entrance gear with the fucking Sub-Zero mask. And
my god. Dude, that needs to be like a higher end like Mondo figure where it's like $130 and it has every like detail of Jimmy Havoc.
Totally.
But yeah, man, I'm hoping for Butcher and the Blade, which makes me wonder. I know we didn't really talk about this beforehand, but did you watch AEW Dark?
I did not watch Dark. I did see the Dark card for this week.
Dude, your boy, Mr. Ass, was in singles competition.
No!
Last week. Tuesday.
I missed William Gunn.
Dude, yeah.
Was Bart there too?
He was, dude. Their intro, oh my god, I kind of wondering like what do you think the purpose was to have Billy Gunn wrestles in a singles match against a random like job guy and he wins.
Okay. Oh, so they're like pushing Billy up the
ranks. I guess so. I was wondering like why do you think they would have him win a singles match? That's a good observation though. Yeah, that it's like maybe the fact that they just want to give him some wins.
That's a great question. I hope they put him in a program, honestly. Like, he's better than, in my opinion, he's more interesting than a lot of the people who are getting screen time. Like, if QT Marshall was not on screen, like, I don't think I would complain. He's like a...
QT Marshall?
Is he a veteran?
Yeah.
Why is that funny? I don't know, but it is.
Yeah, he was around... He talked about it on one of the Road to Weekly shows a long time ago. He was around and didn't get a chance in ROH. He was in the position of like the job guys sort of thing in Ring of Honor. I don't know enough about his history to really say much more than that, but I just remember him lamenting like the career that didn't happen, and now saying he has this chance in AEW, not necessarily to become like world champion, but just to like wrestle again. And
so what the fuck is going on with him and the bunny?
Yeah, dude. Well, and the other thing you missed was QT Marshall buys a Corvette at the encouragement of the bunny.
Okay, so he's going through some sort of midlife crisis?
Honestly, I think that the entire episode of AEW Dark, I think is built to serve the Butcher and the Blade right now. Like, I don't know if this is true, but it seems to me like it's almost the entire card from last Tuesday was in service of different, like you could make connections in a very simple way to the Butcher and the Blade. The Butcher and the Blade had a really sick squash match. Like that tag match was great. They came in, fucked people up, and then left. Looked really strong. Though they were in their old costume, like in their old attire, the steampunk attire. So it'll be interesting to see if their in-ring gear is still...
Do you think they recorded that earlier or something?
I guess maybe it's just an older match. Like maybe they recorded that match a week or 2 weeks ago before they decided to change up their look.
But it does make sense to sort of build them up because they're facing FTR on the next Dynamite.
Yeah, give them a win.
First AEW match.
Totally. And I think and even in the main event too. So the main event of AEW Dark was QT Marshall, the Natural Nightmares, and Dustin versus Librarian and Cutler. And that whole match almost existed just to get Allie on commentary to question her about Butcher and the Blade and her motives and why she's doing all of this. And she basically just dodged all of the questions and didn't really say anything and just talked about how great QT was. So in my mind, and they kept mentioning how the Natural Nightmares are the number 2 contenders for the tag titles, which...
It's such a weird time right now. There must be just people stuck everywhere.
I guess so. Yeah, you got to think, like, when was the last Lucha Bros match?
Lucha Bros are for sure not there.
Well, I know. And when was their last match? Like, they haven't had a chance to win any, like, ever.
No.
I can't think of the last time I seen Pentagon even on an AEW show, let alone seeing the two of them in a tag match together.
Oh, yeah, because Fenix got injured recently.
And he has been there, but were the Lucha... Like, I don't know, I'll have to go back. I mean, were the Lucha Bros on Revolution?
I don't remember, but when did they become Death Triangle with Pac?
Oh, that happened right after Revolution, I think.
Okay.
Either
they
right
were there
after...
for that, but they haven't been there. I don't think... Maybe they wrestled once as Death Triangle, but I don't think they've wrestled much more than that.
Yeah, wow. Lucha Bros, I just looked up the card, and they were not on the card. Pac defeated Orange Cassidy.
Right.
That was awesome. And that set up... And I think maybe Death Triangle was set up the following Wednesday night, because it was like they were fucking up the Best Friends, and now Lucha Bros were sided with Pac, and then like, because that would have been like early March, late February, and then from there, coronavirus hit, and then we haven't seen Pentagon since. So it would make sense that it kind of blew my mind that the Natural Nightmares were number 2 seed, just in that.
Man, you described that match to me. Dustin and QT Marshall versus Librarian and Brandon Cutler. I could not book a match I would like to watch less than that. That sounds like the most filler match imaginable.
I definitely agree, but I also think so. Secondarily, I like the other storylines that are unfolding on Dark, which I don't really care that much about. But is this like Cutler and Librarian storyline where they're both trying to not be the worst? Like they're both trying to get their first win, basically, before the other one does. And that's been playing out on Being the Elite and on Dark for a while now. I do think the payoff to that's going to be funny. Like it should be some kind of crazy like Hell in a Cell like cage match between the two of them at one of their pay-per-views.
Cage of Death.
And I think it's
3 cages stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, some ridiculous, like that. Yeah, like 3 stages of hell match.
You know what they should do? This would be great. Is they should advertise it for Fyter Fest. Cutler versus Librarian, the greatest wrestling match ever.
But yeah, I think, dude, totally.
Same graphics as the Randy Orton Edge match from WWE.
Yeah, that match couldn't have lower expectations for it this Sunday, but
that's some reverse psychology shit. They're like,
right, yeah, because
so
anything's going to be
Edge
good.
And
then.
Randy Orton in the longest, most boring match ever. Actually, the second longest match in WrestleMania history.
Oh my god!
After the Brett and Shawn Iron match.
Man, I love Edge so much, but yeah, that match is I told you this. It is my least favorite WrestleMania match. I think maybe I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch every WrestleMania match ever. Every WrestleMania out of all the WrestleMania matches I have seen, I think that's probably my least favorite. But yeah, just sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm sure I could dig deep, but like I'm sure I could put 3 of those matches together and they wouldn't be as long as that Edge Randy Orton.
I was just gonna. You're right. Yeah, like there might be a match
might
that's
be going
like
on
lame,
right now,
but
yeah.
Edge and Randy Orton's length outweighs like some weird random early 90s match that wasn't that good.
And it was so weird because I think maybe the week after we saw Ciampa Cole backstage brawl through the NXT Performance Center, and it was so
superb,
dope.
Yeah,
it was awesome. Anyway,
but, yeah, like AEW Dark, I think it's in a position right now where they're giving all these people storylines that if they were on any other promotion's card, I don't even think any of them would really be featured apart from the Butcher and the Blade. Like if you went through and listed everyone that was like on the card of Dark last week, which I have just now, like I think like yeah, just like like thinking about everyone like Cutler, Librarian, QT, Dustin, Mr. Ass, and then a bunch of job guys. The only people that would really be featured would be Butcher and the Blade.
Yeah. Well, and that is cool. Like, it's cool to have a program that's free on YouTube where you can go, let's try out some matches that aren't money, see if they're any good, see if we can generate some heat from some of these guys, and if things go well, you can transition them to Dynamite.
But the one thing that I wish did happen, though, like, why has there not been... Like, the only significant storyline, like, talking about this, I was trying to come, like, because I've watched almost every Dark up until 2020. So I've seen probably every episode of Dark except maybe January's Darks, because there was a point where, like, AEW Dark kind of transitioned into being mostly just, like, here's everyone that we don't feature on TV. And the only significant storyline that I can think of that unfolded on Dark was Janela versus Kip Sabian, like their blow off, which was built up outside of Dark. It was built up on AEW Dynamite, and I remember reading it was supposed to be on. It was supposed to be on the Revolution card, but then got moved to being like a long match on Dark. Which I think that's what they need to do. Like there should be more of is like why not throw Darby Allin in a storyline with someone on Dark, because we haven't seen him on TV in a while, or maybe like extend the Dark Order stuff to give us a better understanding of what they're doing, like on Dark, which they kind of started to do, but then when they started to cool Dark Order off, kind of stopped.
Right. Have you seen the card for Dark this week?
I seen Moxley's fighting someone he fought in CCW.
Moxley versus Robert Anthony.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be sick.
Who lost against Spears?
He lost against Spears
recently.
Cool.
Like last week.
So probably not going to beat Moxley then, or
no, I don't think so. So then we have Butcher and the Blade versus Pineapple Pete and Anthony Katina.
Dude, yeah. There's so many people who should be tag champions on AEW's roster right now. Like,
yeah.
Give Butcher and the Blade the belts.
QT Marshall versus Zach Clayton. I don't know who that is.
So Marshall's getting the win?
Marshall's definitely getting the rub there. And then SCU versus Lowrider and Fuego del Sol, who I do not know.
Is that SCU as in Kaz and Sky?
Kaz and Sky, yeah.
Sick.
And Jurassic Express versus Cutler and Avalon.
There we go.
And Inner Circle and Santana and Ortiz versus Musa and Brady Pierce.
I like Santana and Ortiz being on there. Yeah, the problem was for a while it was like the same mix of like 5 people, like Private Party, Sean Spears, Cutler, Librarian, and then QT Marshall and Dustin, and then they would all fight each other, and there'd be a random like, oh, cool, Jungle Express is on there.
It almost work. It should work like, okay, so 2 teams fight on Dynamite. So let's say next week FTR and Butcher and the Blade, and if FTR wins, they should be on Dynamite the next week, and Butcher and the Blade should be moved to Dark, having to fight with somebody on Dark. So then they're on Dark and they fight like Private Party, and whoever wins that gets to go onto Dynamite. So it's like rankings between the like you
just
wouldn't have to say that.
Just kind of almost treat it. Let it. We all know it's basically become like a The B show Sunday Night Heat sort of thing. So just let it become that in that way.
It's like you fight Dark for the ability to get into Dynamite,
and it is like unarguably a bigger deal to have a match on Dynamite, regardless of what the view of the company is on AEW Dark. It's like Dynamite is on TNT for 2 hours every week. It's not a free YouTube show.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Dynamite this week started out with a barn burner.
Yeah, man. The Superbad Death Squad against Omega and Hangman.
Is that officially their name, the Superbad
I think
Death
that's
Squad?
the Hashtag Penelope Ford.
That's so sick.
Keeps posting, and Sabian and Havoc. That name, I love that name so much, and I don't even care that there's another, like, Death Triangle is fine. Like, who cares? Just keep using the word death in all of the faction names.
Death Triangle haven't,
because they've not been around,
copyrighted the word death any more than they've copyrighted triangle.
And Superbad, I do think there's something to that feud also. If there's Superbad Death Squad versus the Death Triangle, and actually have like a 3-on-3 Penelope, Sabian, and Havoc against Pac,
right?
And the Lucha Bros. But yeah, that opening match was great. I
have to say, this is the most I've ever liked Kip Sabian. I feel like he is really like coming into his own in this team with Jimmy Havoc. I think it's just because, you know, he was obviously booked as kind of a cowardly heel who would lose a lot. But he was so dominant in this match. Like, he was holding his own against Kenny Omega in these sequences that were just absolutely phenomenal. Made me want to see a singles match between Havoc and Omega. That would be sick also.
Oh my god, that would be so good. Yeah, like a longer match. Yeah, because Havoc has a lot of wrestling like prowess. He just is known for doing death matches, but he's just like a lot of those guys who are more known for doing like crazy spots. But then like Joey Janela is most known for, you know, his roof jump or roof spot, but like, and is widely known as someone who does like crazy spots like that. But then we'll also have like sick straight wrestling matches with people like Leo Rush. It's a great match he had with the two of them had in CZW, and same thing with Jimmy Havoc too. Like, yeah, it's cool to see him go up against someone like Kenny Omega, where the two have such different, like vastly different wrestling histories and backgrounds, and they come together and clash on AEW Dynamite.
Yeah, I love this matchup. I love the really long opening matches. Like a good 15-minute opening match just really sets the tone for the episode. My only criticism with this match a little bit, and I don't know, maybe I'm just like becoming more and more in sympathy with Jim Cornette every day, but the long sequences of the match where people weren't tagging and everyone was just in the ring at once, I think that's starting to bother me more when I'm just seeing the ref just kind of standing there. He should at least be pretending to try to like be like, hey, go back, you gotta tag. But it just doesn't happen for like 5-minute stretches.
Do you think though, like, because the refs in AEW are like the refs in New Japan,
right? They make their
own judgment calls.
Yeah.
So
it bothered me more than it has ever bothered me during this match, and I think it's just because I'm thinking about it more. I think that's why.
There was an instance, there was an instance this week, maybe we'll come up to it as we talk about everything, but there was an instance this week where I thought, like, why wasn't there a tag there? I think it might have been on NXT. But I know what you're saying though. Yeah, there's like, it's funny because I did not notice it until it was brought up. And I know there was something about how Jericho talked to the locker room about tag matches.
Oh, yeah?
And like how to work a tag match. Yeah, he was saying how there's like too much of that and not enough like tag psychology happening.
I feel like there's nothing wrong with like having a nice sequence, you know what I mean? Like someone goes for the pin, the other partner comes in, they break it up, they double team, the other partner from the opposing team comes out, they have a little scuffle, but I feel like that should last like a minute. And then it should be like, okay, like guys, go back to your corner. But I felt like there was just like a 5-minute stretch at the end where it was just people hitting moves on each other. And yeah, I don't know.
You know, Ref Aubrey is really the only ref that I can think of, like off the top of my head, in my memory, that really gets in the face with the wrestlers. Like,
right,
does what you're talking about. Like,
yeah,
you can't do that. Like, we'll take a foreign object away. We'll, break things up, throw things down.
I saw a great GIF on Squared Circle of Earl Hebner from like, I think it was like 2009 or something. Someone was holding a pin on the ropes, and Hebner just like jumps up and drop kicks the top rope to like get him off of it. It was awesome.
Dude, that rules.
I
gotta say, oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, please go.
I was gotta say, like, I wasn't that excited about the combination of Hangman and Kenny as a tag team to begin with. Like, I thought it was a fine, like, New Japan style singles pairing where it's like, we need to get these two in some kind of program. There's not story for them outside of this, so let's throw them together and see what happens.
Yeah.
And obviously that story has turned into, like, Hangman has risen to superstar status.
Yeah.
There's been so many great matches that have come from that. One of the best tag matches ever between them and the Bucks at Revolution.
Absolutely.
And, you know, now they're like, in seeing them gel together and become this tag team, which I think you're going to launch into some of the sequences like that. My favorite spot of theirs is when Kenny does the Kintaro Crusher and then Hangman does the standing shooting star press for a count.
That's literally exactly what I was about to say. Big boot from Hangman, Kintaro Crusher from Omega, and then Hangman's right back in with the standing shooting star press. So good.
Yeah, it's so good. And they both have such, Hangman and Kenny too, both have such different but complementary ways of working spots, and like just their move sets in general, like a lot of like hard hitting, high flying spots. And it's like Hangman's like deep, like mid-south brawler, and Kenny is this like hyper video game come to life. And then as a tag team, it's like, how do you beat these two? They're throwing so much at you.
Yeah, exactly. And their like final move really is that articulated, like the V trigger with the what's it called? Hangman's lariat.
Oh, buckshot lariat. Yeah, which they called the last call.
They did
Dynamite.
When they said the last call, I could see like whiskey and milk just like cracking together as like a cheers.
So funny.
Did you catch the Shoryuken from Havoc?
No, no, I don't think so. Dude, his moveset too is really cool. Yeah.
Oh man. They were awesome. Like what are they called? Scorpion Death Squad? What's it?
Superbad Death Squad.
Superbad Death Squad. Yeah, they are an awesome tag team. Like they should, I hope that doesn't stop. I hope that they stay together, they get a name. The only thing that annoys me about tag teams is when they don't have names. I want them to have names, even if they just joined up. Just give them a name.
You can so clearly hear Excalibur saying Superbad Death Squad also.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So I only saw this because I had to rewatch Dark because I was just, I don't know, I was really tired. Or sorry, Dynamite. I rewatched that this morning because when it aired, I was just, I don't know, it wasn't all there. And I caught it this time. Paige is on the top rope and Havoc calls it out. He goes, Shoryuken! And then uppercuts him.
Oh my god. I have
it was awesome.
His uppercuts are sick. I didn't hear him say that.
He called it out. It was like New Japan.
I missed that. That's sick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, where they yell at each other?
Yeah. Omega! I love that. And oh man, there was a sick moment where Kip hit a backbreaker. It was like one of those code breaker.
Oh yeah, I loved that
then
like
hits a reverse
the
Hurricane Rana.
backstabber. Yeah.
Oh, and a reverse Hurricane Rana. I was trying to figure out, is there a difference between a Hurricane Rana and a Frankensteiner?
Is the Frankensteiner? I don't think so.
I feel like someone made the point that the Frankensteiner drops you more on the top of your head instead of your back,
right?
Because it's supposed to like flatten your head like the Frankenstein's monster. But then
that's a cool detail. I actually didn't realize that.
But then I hear sometimes X just calling a Hurricane Rana a Frankensteiner, and I'm like, oh, maybe they're just used interchangeably now.
Yeah, it seems like all of the GIFs of Frankensteiner I just looked at, it's a combination of people doing Hurricane Ranas and Poison Ranas, but it does look like they're landing more on the top of their head.
And it just seems like that's a move that only would work in like a 64 wrestling game, because otherwise you're just gonna kill your opponent if you're like dropping them on their head.
Yeah, it's a crazy. I guess in looking at it though, like, and I feel like Kenny's are really smooth in this way. The person doing the move lands before the person taking the move.
Right.
So it's like, almost like just you're flipping someone back on their feet.
Right.
It looks crazier than it probably actually is, but it does seem like one of the easiest moves to like totally fuck up. Like in either like a botchy, like that spot was fucked up way, or I just killed this person and now I'm sad way.
Yeah, that would be a big botch, killing someone. So I thought this match was excellent. I gave it a B+/A-. What did you give it, John? Sorry, I don't have your grades.
Oh, I don't remember, but I remember feeling the same way. I wasn't like, it's not like it was the greatest tag match of all time, but it was a great match that I would, without a doubt, rewatch and would love to see more of. After
this match, there was a Spears Tully promo.
Dude, Tully's energy right now is like Sam Kinison. It's
so
amazing.
Good.
What's going on?
Okay, so do you remember how on like the first episode of this show, I was just like irrationally angry about Sean Spears' booking?
Totally, yeah.
I'm pretty sure Tully listened to this show. And he's the only one more pissed off than I am, because
I'm done with this shit. We're pushing Spears.
Reams out Sean Spears on.
Hey, he dresses him down like he's like fucking Sam Kinison.
He's just like, do you want your kids to hold up the belts that you won because you need to change something in your heart? I was like, holy shit! That's exactly what I was saying, but just yelling it. So that was great. And then he goes into a limo in this episode and he's like, I think I found what you've been missing, and just gives Spears just one glove, which I know is like South wrestling kind of lingo for becoming like a badass heel, like a prisoner's heel. But it was just so funny in the context of that episode.
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna dress you down, and here's a glove.
Here is a fingerless glove.
What do you think that could mean?
I literally just think he's just gonna come back a ruthless heel.
I hope he comes back a ruthless heel with a long, flowing 1980s mullet. I think it would really...
He somehow grows a mullet around his...
Oh my god, he could...
in 1 week.
That's my only complaint with Spears is his haircut. Like, I feel like
we talk about this a lot.
If he had like a sick, like Von Erich like mullet, his whole gimmick would change. But he has that like just that teeny tiny mohawk that...
I think it's because he kind of looks like a dinosaur.
Yeah, that is not a intimidating haircut. Like, I feel like Brian Cage could have that haircut, and you would be like, all right, you look cool. I don't care. Like, please.
Speaking of Brian Cage, that's the next match was a squash. Brian Cage.
Who can stop the path of Cage?
And we've talked about this, but I feel like Taz should yell it.
Yeah, why does he speak it like that?
In the thing, he's just like, who can stop the path of Cage? But it should be like, who can stop the path of Cage? Right?
Totally. Yeah, I don't understand. Because, like, I mentioned to you quite a few times how much I love Taz yelling his promos. Because he's been very even-keel, mild-mannered sports broadcaster on AEW.
Well, yeah. He hasn't even been the color guy. He was just kind of a third man.
Yeah, just throwing out, like, great. He would sell everyone that was coming on Dark. He's doing a great job on the commentary desk. We both have loved his work on the commentary desk.
I love his work on the... Please never speak for me again. I love his work on those videos where he would, like, analyze... Be like, see, Darby, he goes up for the camel clutch. That's very cool. He's got his hand right across the victim's neck. And that restricts blood and airflow.
Dude, totally. Yeah, I feel like Taz has been used in such a great way in AEW, and now, his Brian Cage's intro needs to not be Taz over enunciating that. It shouldn't be this even. It's like Taz did the cleanest, most even read of that, so you could hear what he was saying. I think.
Yeah.
But it should just be Taz off the chain screaming those words.
Yeah, it should be like the equivalent of the glass smash from Stone Cold.
Yeah, game. Totally.
Should just ring through the arena and strike fear.
Because I find myself just kind of cautiously listening to Taz speaking those words.
It sounds like he really wants to know.
Yeah.
He's like, who can stop the path of Cage? Do you guys know?
This is a question.
This is a serious inquiry. Yeah, this was a cool squash. He hit the jobber with one of the biggest, enormous belly-to-belly reverse suplexes I've ever seen. It was like he took his little Hulk Hogan, like, 80s pillow action figure toy and just, like, threw it over his head.
Yeah, Brian Cage is a monster. It's
cool.
It's cool seeing someone, like, just explode onto a roster like this. Like, they're doing the same thing they did with Lance Archer with him. And it feels like there are these chaotic hosses.
Yeah.
Just waiting to take down a champion.
He's got that agility that makes him stand out from Archer, who I wouldn't call quite as agile, even though he does, like, a top rope walk. Like, Cage just, like, explodes into every move. I wonder, it should be interesting with Fyter Fest just to see how long he can go, because he almost seems like a Goldberg at the moment. Like, he comes in and, like, destroys you in, like, 1.5 minutes and then he's out. But that's also just a matter of the fact that he's being booked in squash matches. Because Lance Archer, I keep calling him Lancher. Or Lanch. Lanch
Who
Archer.
can stop the path
Who can stop
of
the path of Lanch? And then, Taz was pissed off. He's like, hey, Moxley, like, why you were laughing at us? And then Moxley comes out. He's like, I love the fact that we're going to have a huge fucking fight. Like, it's
bring it
gonna be
on.
Awesome. Bring it.
I don't give a fuck.
It makes me happy. That was great seeing Mox. He's like, I know I seem like I'm smiling now, but, like, you try to take this title from me is a whole other scenario completely. And
I am pumped for this match.
Yeah.
It's weird because the build up to Brody Mox, which we talked about, I didn't really care that much about that match. Wasn't that excited about it. And then in the match, I in the retrospect, I love what the Mox and Brody did.
It wasn't a long build. Like, it was literally 2 weeks before the pay-per-view. Brody beat up Mox. And then
yeah, that's true. But I think maybe it's like, I don't know. I'm just maybe more excited about Brian Cage as well. Like, as soon as I heard Cage and Mox were fighting, I didn't need to know anything else. Like, I was like, oh, that match is going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have our issues with Brody Lee in the Dark Order, so
maybe that's mostly just that, I guess. Yeah.
I hope that they take a little bit of time, and then by the time the Dark Order comes back, they come back full force with all the members and hopefully new members
That would be cool if they kind of like cooled them off and just tried to from now till All Out, had them like trying to recruit different people. Then at All Out,
yeah,
they come out with the
Full
Uno,
force.
Grayson, Brody, and then maybe 3 new members as well.
Yeah, I hope it's like it can't be people who have good personalities. So it's got to be like your QTs and your Cutlers and your Librarians. Like it has to be those guys. But like, it would be really cool if just like, the Librarian came out. I know, hear me out. In a totally different outfit, in the Creeper outfit, and just suddenly is like way better and like beats like Jungle Boy or something. Like, I don't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, like
as
someone
if the Dark
that
Order
is like losing.
actually does have a power.
That's a sick storyline, actually. Like, yeah, like Colt Cabana. Who did you say? QT or QT? Like, yeah, someone like that. Like QT is supposed to have a match with like number 12,
right?
And number 12 comes in because Peter Avalon's a great wrestler and he's got a really cool like classic wrestling moveset, like wrestling moveset.
Yeah,
yeah. If he came out and we didn't know it was him, he still hasn't won. The Cutler and Librarian storyline still going.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it could be building. You are making a good point, and it could be building to this in that one of them comes out and is like number 12, number 13. They win and then reveal, I'm a part of the Dark Order.
Holy shit.
And then Brody comes out, Grayson comes out, they all come out, and they're like, yeah, we help people win. This is what we do. That immediately would make me like Dark Order.
It's just that disparity between what the Dark Order says that they're doing and what they're actually doing. Like, they're the most dominant force. They never win any matches. Like,
and the only dominant thing they've done, is beat up the Elite. Like,
one
a couple times, like once or twice. Yeah,
it's fine that Brody lost, but yeah, we need to see the difference. We need to see. I don't think Sean Spears should, although it would give him with the mask some time to grow his hair out. But
unless like Tully wants to not be on the show anymore, I feel like no. But yeah, it seems like let the two of them continue to do what they're doing. Maybe pair them up with a Revival, FTR. Yeah. I gotta say, I love the amount of segments that were on this show. Like like in retrospect, at the end of the episode, I felt like, oh, that was a segment-heavy show. But then there was a ton of matches too. There was just a lot of stuff that happened on this show. Coming up after that, Lance Archer was in like a swamp beating up. Who was he beating up?
Oh, I don't know.
Random person?
Monster?
Yeah. Some alligators. Him and Jake the Snake.
Gator meat.
Yeah.
Got some gator meat for you, Jake.
Oh my god, yeah, we're going to barbecue at Murderhawk Manor.
Mansion.
Oh, Mansion. Sorry.
Know your role, John.
But yeah, that segment was cool, and
that was cool. Jake apologized for Archer, like I've never seen him like that. So it's like, oh shit, Archer's becoming so bad, even Jake doesn't want to fuck with him anymore. We had Jericho versus Colt. After
Boom
that,
Boom Colt Cabana. I love seeing this match. It's a great singles match.
I thought it
not
was
the
fine.
Greatest match, like not a great singles match, like a great TV match. Like
yes,
it reminded me of like the Attitude Era, where it's like, oh cool, we're gonna see like Stone Cold face Road Dogg or something like that, where it's like there's like a champion quality person that is facing someone that maybe should be given a shot at a bigger feature.
Yeah, totally. And it was a fine match. I gave it a B-. My favorite part is before the match, not Sammy singing, but just Jericho trying not to laugh at Sammy.
Oh my
singing.
god, yeah. Yeah.
It's like Sammy is just doing it just to break Jericho at this point, because Jericho, like, he almost was corpsing. Like, his face was so stiff. That made me laugh a lot. But I think Sammy could at least sing on tune. Like, he doesn't have to sing on key, but if he could just, like, say the words when they happen.
Like, with the song.
With the goddamn song.
And I mean, it might just be that it's, like, hard to hear, like, the audio we're hearing is straight from,
right?
Like maybe there's like a delay and he's hearing it. It seems like he's hearing it then singing it. Like he hears the first lyric then says the first lyric instead of like coming in on time with Jericho. But you would think as the verse progresses he could do it. But I'm sure the joke is just supposed to be like, it did get a little annoying to me at a certain point. Like I think it's funny.
It's funny, but it's just like what you said made sense, but it just didn't seem realistic. It's like he should be able to sing along with it. He's heard this song 1,000 times.
Yeah, like I I think I'm only ever listened to that song maybe once, like a couple times outside of actually like wrestling, like hearing it in wrestling. But I think I know almost all the words. Like at Dynamite, I sang along with the crowd.
Totally.
And I think most of the words of that song. So you'd think everyone on the roster probably knows every word to that song at this point.
Oh, you would think.
And most of Sammy's delivery was was just mumbling along with the actual words to the song.
Yeah, it was just like a little too much. Just a little bit too much. Nyla Rose versus Big Swole was, I thought that was a good match. Great showing from Swole. Nyla obviously sealed the deal with a huge spear and a beast bomb. But afterwards, Tone Schiavone was interviewing Big Swole. And for some reason, Britt Baker got jealous and just like backed her truck up with the wheelchair in it and was yelling. I'm like, is she jealous because Swole is talking to Tony?
It seemed that way. I don't understand because she hates Tony, but then got mad. That's
Swole was like she was mad she wasn't getting attention, and it's like,
I feel like. It was weird, but I do love seeing... I mentioned that I like seeing more as just like exhibition matches between the women on their roster as part of the Double or Nothing card, and it's cool to see that happen more on the actual show, too. Like, throwing Big Swole in with Nyla Rose was a great, fun singles match to watch. And really
Swole
enjoyed it.
Losing, didn't hurt her. She gave an interview after where she's like, I may have lost, but... I feel like I'm getting better, and that's a great babyface promo to make.
And, as I was watching the match, I was like, this match is, kind of slow and plotting in a way that was making me disengage from it. But then, I mentioned this to you while we were watching it. It's like watching a Nyla match is like watching, a Vader or Bam Bam Bigelow match, where it's if Vader and Bam Bam Bigelow are on a card with Kenny Omega and Hangman who are doing flips and these high intensity moves.
Yeah.
Maybe we would feel the same way about those matches too. Nyla is this huge hulking beast.
Right. She slows down the pace.
Not about work rate. It's about, this methodical dismemberment of an opponent, which I really enjoyed.
It was too slow.
In retrospect, I just I caught myself and started thinking about it. It's not every match needs to be fast-paced and hard-hitting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like taking Brian Cage's match and making it 6 minutes instead of a minute 30 or whatever it was.
Right.
And that match was great. And it's what do you think of? We kind of glossed over this part of the Jericho Cabana segment. What do you think of Jericho and Tyson? Is that happening? It seems like it's actually happening, right? He called him out.
Yeah, it does really seem like it's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to see that, to be quite frank with you.
Yeah, I think it'll... I don't know, yeah.
That to me seems like something that is a little bit beneath AEW, in my opinion. It would draw money, obviously, but I feel like it would be kind of a shit show. But if they figure out a way to do it in a cinematic fashion, if it's a straight up wrestling match, I do not want to see that. But if it's some sort of cinematic thing and Tyson's methed up crew comes with them and it's they should do some sort of a House of Horrors match, but it's just Mike Tyson's house. He turns the corner and there's a big lion. He's like, "Welcome to my house." That would be cool, but honestly, I don't want to see that. What about you?
Well, now I want to see what you just said. Tyson kicks open the door and is just cutting weird promos.
He just got a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Jericho turns a corner and Tyson is there with his crew. I want to see that. I don't know. Yeah. It's a spectacle. I don't know about, just the actual, I agree. Saying that it feels beneath them is a good way of putting that.
That's just how I feel. I know some people might be into it.
Dude. Yeah. And then the second last part of the show, or the other most notable thing that happened at the end of the show, FTR and Tony's interview.
Okay, that was awesome.
Really cool.
I noted at the first that FTR called AEW the pinnacle of wrestling revolution. So if there's any doubt whether or not they actually like respect this promotion, because obviously like Cornette doesn't, they've been linked with Cornette. I think they obviously like believe that AEW is a really huge opportunity for them.
Well, and just speaking of Cornette, they were interviewed on Cornette's Drive-Thru, and that interview is really good.
Yeah, I listened to half of it, not because I wasn't interested, but because I didn't realize it would be like 3 hours long.
They spoke on like they like at one point Cornette is making fun of something on AEW and something not working, and I don't remember which of them says this, but one of them says, some things are going to fall flat on their face, and that's okay. Now you know. And if that doesn't work, scratch that off the list and try again. At least they're willing to try shit, the platform to try something. And they just are talking about how that's the thing that makes AEW so important. Like, regardless of anyone's opinions on any of the different things that they have done thus far, at least like they're willing to try something, like Nightmare Collective. Sure, we didn't like it, and they heard the audience not liking it, and then they retooled it. Brandy is back with Nightmare Family. Like I think she's great in that position. And we don't have to see Dr. Luther every week, and it's funny to see Dr. Luther pop up every now and then. But yeah, that interview I thought was really good in hearing hearing Cornette interview FTR, and who's someone who is like been very critical of AEW, but within the interview the whole interview to me doesn't sound like a shoot interview. It sounds like a person, Jim Cornette, who potentially may manage the revival.
I gotta say, like, if you asked me a month ago, I would have been like, there's no chance Cornette is on AEW. And now I just feel like we've been worked like total marks, because I don't know, like he said to start off, he's like, people have wanted to see me with these guys, and that's not going to happen at least until the pandemic's over.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
What? Sorry?
Right, and that doesn't mean like hang like
that doesn't mean anything, but
well, I also don't think he meant like hang out. Like he means like in that capacity, I feel like he means people want to see me. I mean, we're reading into this slightly, but not much. Like people want to see me manage these gentlemen.
Yeah. And honestly, like if Cornette's been using his show, not to say that he has, not to say this was all a plan, but if AEW is willing to say, hey, we've listened to your criticisms and we still want to work with you, like, that's cool. Like, I think he would have to respect that. Like, them calling him up and him being like, I don't have the best things to say about you guys, and them being like, yeah, we know, but that's great. That's a great character. And the way that FTR was kind of criticizing some of the tag team division, he was giving a lot of like props to people he'd like to face: Butcher and Blade, Private Party, Proud and Powerful, Lucha Bros, Kenny and Page. But he also said, like he's going to teach the Lucha Bros how to tag and stuff like that.
And that's a great angle for them to be able to work.
Totally. 100%. People coming in to criticize the show and be like, I'm going to use my wrestling as criticism.
We're old school wrestlers.
Like what I don't like. Yeah. That's such a it's so good. And I actually, for the first time, like, I guess because Cornette was like calmed down, but I could like see his feelings about like selling moves and wrestling psychology and stuff like that, because a lot of these matches we do watch, it's like, someone will hit a huge finisher on somebody and they'll just get back up, and then they'll hit something and then hit their finisher and then they pin, and it's like the move has been completely no.
Yeah, his comments on like psychology and wrestling and those kinds of things I think are totally valid, and something that like the thing that I do think AEW does exactly what you just said, but I do think AEW, that's the thing that's happening in AEW. It's like this convergence of like old school wrestlers like Arn Anderson and Tully, Taz to a degree, obviously not from that era, but and then these new people who are like
these spot fest
lucha
guys.
PWG influenced people.
But I have a hard time believing he didn't watch that match at Revolution between the Bucks and Kenny and Hangman and go, now that was some great storytelling. There's no way he didn't respect that story, because it was so well told. It's been told through the Dynamites, this potential breakup of Hangman and Kenny, this potential breakup of the Elite, Kenny trying to play the mediator sort of between them, and all the things, and the Bucks kind of turning into heels for that feud and kind of getting more heelish as that match went on. Like, there's no way he could have watched that and not thought it was a good story. But at the same time, he can't go on his show and go, well, I was wrong. They're great. It was a great match. Like, he's just not going to do it.
Kind of circling back to Tony's interview with FTR, setting up a great match for this Wednesday, Butcher and Blade versus FTR.
Yeah, that's going to be...
Cannot wait for that.
Cannot wait to see them back in the ring. Like, FTR after being, buried by WWE for so long. It's going to be fantastic. But, yeah, so they're talking about people they'd like to face. We mentioned Butcher and Blade, Private Party, all that. They want to obviously get the tag titles, even though Kenny and Paige aren't a real tag team. They mentioned. Right. Love that. And, Tone is like, well, I know she didn't mention the Bucks, and they're like, well, that's not a dream match for us, we don't want to fight them, we want to punch them.
And they continued that on the Cornette interview too, where they were saying how that they never went after the Bucks went after them. Like, that's the whole thing just felt worked. It's like, well, yeah, that's true, the Bucks did call you guys out, but and they kind of dismissed a lot of what the Bucks did, because at the time the Bucks had like every tag championship. It's like they had the J Crown of tag belts.
And they won the Wrestling Observer.
Yeah, they won that. They won that 5 years in a row. They won the junior heavyweight tag championships, the heavyweight tag championships, PWG tag championships, ROH tag championships. It's like they held so many. They held every tag championship that was not a WWE belt, basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, they without a doubt that they were and are one of the best tag teams of the last decade.
That's what I like about the Bucks, is that they're not afraid to be heels.
Yeah, I really like them as heels. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. And then Butcher and the Blade
crash
in Droog mode come in.
Oh, dude,
I love.
Yeah, I feel like they should get some he should get a cane or something, Blade should have a cane like Alex.
100%. I loved when Cash is just he's like, yeah, listen, it wasn't personal, it was business. Because they basically, what they said in the interview is they don't want the Bucks to have any excuse to lose to them. They weren't softened up by Butcher and the Blade. Keep them in good health, so when we fight them, then you guys can all apologize to us for saying that they were the best tag team, because we're obviously the best tag team. Love that. And so Cash is like, hey, we're just businessmen. It wasn't personal. Let's settle it in the ring like businessmen. And then just throws his water bottle at the Butcher.
So good. Yeah.
I love that. Such heat. Oh, man.
That match is going to be sick. I'm sure it's going to get a lot of time. Yeah, that'll be really cool. And then up until this point, I remember messaging you being like, what's going on with Brody and the Dark Order? And then there was just a brief instance where Brody is trying to recruit Colt into the Dark Order.
Right.
So maybe we're going to see that, what we were suggesting earlier, happen, where
hopefully they'll come back in full force with a lot of different people. And then brings us to the main event. Oh, before you talk about the main event, just a quick segue into Chris Jericho's viral Rager at Sea, where you can contract COVID from wrestling superstars such as Chris Jericho, FTR, Brandy Rhodes.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was advertised right here. Yeah,
how are they advertising this cruise?
A cruise, right, yeah, it's the pandemic. It's still pumping. It's in February too. It's not even we're doing this December of 2021.
Right,
it's
exactly.
Well, maybe at that time a cruise won't be the craziest thing to do. Maybe there'll be a vaccine by
just a
summer
petri
of next year
dish
or something.
at sea. I just can't. I'm definitely not going to be on that.
I will not be either. I would like to go on a Chris Jericho cruise at some point. Definitely not.
Definitely for our live episode
2022. Yeah, totally.
Cody Jungle Boy. My favorite part is
the first defense of the TNT title. Correct.
That's right, and he certainly decided to go for it on this one. I love Arn coming out in his little sweater vest and stuff, and he's got his clipboard.
Dude, what do you think was written on that clipboard?
It just says Jungle Boy at the top. So me and John
question mark.
Me and John were making some notes of things it could possibly say. What do I have here? Okay, Jungle Boy is short. Try punching him.
He's quick.
Watch out for Marco.
Luchasaurus? Question mark?
Just Luchasaurus, question mark, like from Jungle? Prehistoric man? Frozen in block of ice? And we also softened up on Cody's neck tattoo over the last little bit.
Yeah, it looks fine. It looks cool. Like, I don't know. It was jarring when I first saw it. And I think
it definitely fits his look now.
I do. And I don't know if there's something about, like, it's kind of like a good lesson in letting things kind of breathe. They're like not jumping to be insanely critical about.
I think it's hard not to jump to a neck tattoo because it's just
true.
so like, it's just so there in your face. But I think it kind of makes him look a little bit badass, like when he's got the suit on, so he doesn't just look like a rich fan. He's got that neck tattoo, like,
yeah, I liked it. And you know, the one of the facts that was thrown out right at the start of this match that I really liked that AEW is able to say is that Jungle Boy has won 60% of his matches.
Oh, that's cool.
That percentage, you know, puts him, like, the odds of him winning there are good because he wins 60% of his matches, loses 40%. And
yeah,
those the fact that they're able to bring in those statistics, and it's cool to think that because Tony Khan is a statistics guy, that those are actually rooted in real stats. But even if they weren't, and it was just like they want it to feel more like a sport, so it's like a fact that they just decided to throw out.
And it's so
cool.
funny because 60%, like, you know, it seems like a good winning record, but like if you were in WWE and you were getting booked 50%, like I feel like that's what they do to everybody. They just give them 50% feuds, goes one way, goes the other way and stuff. And Tony has found a way to sort of do that, but in the long game, giving people like long periods of winning, giving people sorts of league. Because I can't actually remember Jungle Boy winning recently, other than the Battle Royal for that opportunity. But
I can't think of a time he's won recently either. I'm sure he has, but
this was a sick match.
Really great. I don't think Cody needed to bleed in this match.
No, I thought that was over the top, and it was.
Where did that even happen? Like, what spot made him bleed?
Okay, this is why it's confusing, because Jungle Boy basically throws him into the barrier, and then it just cuts to MJF for like a minute shooting on Jungle Boy like, "You think you deserve a title shot before me? You're a joke! You're a joke!" And then after that like minute, it cuts back to Cody, and he's just like laying there just like covered in blood. I really don't like that. Like, I feel like the blade has to be done quick, or it's just so obvious. And it seemed clear that he was trying to make this like as epic a match as possible, but like he's gonna bleed, and it's like this. Oh, they fell off the top rope onto the table outside. Like, oh my god, like what a first TNT title defense. Like, this is made for a video package for sure.
Yeah, very WWE in that way, actually. Just in that, like, a lot of it's in service of like a future. That's what it felt like in parts. Like, I didn't in retrospect, in critiquing it, I feel like it felt that way. In watching it, I loved watching it. It was lost in the match. Did get distracted. The blood is the only thing that made me like, oh, when did that happen? Why is he bleeding now? It's been mostly because it was mostly up to that point just kind of a solid like the MJF Jungle Boy match, just a cool, fun singles wrestling match that worked between two people, which is in my mind what that match needed to be, just that, like a solid wrestling match.
Totally.
And I think in some ways, like the overbooking, like the blood, all that stuff kind of gets in the way. Because I've been a fan of Cody for a while. Like my favorite Cody match, the first Cody match I saw that I remember really loving was his match against Ibushi at Wrestle Kingdom. And I remember that got a lot of flack. Like, people didn't like it, but I personally really loved it. And that match is kind of just, it's like a really cool, fun wrestling match. And when he lets his matches be that way, I feel like I like them more than when they bring in Snakes and Mike Tyson and Arn Anderson and Brandy and Jake Hager. Totally. It's like, how many things need to be in this match when you could just have this cool singles match because you're capable of it. The strikes he throws are really great, and just like his move set that pulls from his moves, his dad's moves and his brother's move are it's such a cool set of moves.
Totally. I honestly the blade job, I have no problem with blade jobs, but it brought it down a little bit for me. Like it was a B for me overall. having watched it twice, like it was a good match. It wasn't nearly as good as I think these guys are capable of having, just like a straight wrestling match, the way that Jungle Boy and MJF did. There's just a lot of stuff happening, but it was fun, like, and made Jungle Boy look strong, and there were some great spots, like them falling through the table was awesome. I love that Jungle Boy was going for the open wound. Like once Cody was open,
totally
he was, like, hitting his head, elbowing his head. Jungle Boy looked like he really wanted that championship, and everyone looked strong. But I really think you got to save those blades. Like when the last blade that he did was in that Dustin match, which is maybe the best match in AEW history up to this point. I don't know. You'll have to wait till Torture Wracked issue 5, where I'll be presenting my top 20 matches in the first year of AEW.
Can't wait.
Maybe. I just basically.
Well, no, yeah, you're definitely doing that.
Now you have to let me write that.
Yeah, I want you to write that. I feel like your perspective on that is interesting, just from the different wrestling that you've watched, and being someone who's watched AEW since its inception. I'm excited for you to write that, and I'm excited to read it. Totally. Yeah, the match was great. He didn't need to bleed. The other he bleeds like in almost every match. Like the last maybe straight blade job was Dustin Cody, but he had that crazy fall on the where it took out a chunk of his head, and now he has that weird triangle scar on his head. Like, man, he bleeds all the time.
What do you think made Brandy Rhodes more upset? The triangle scar above his eye or the neck tattoo? Are they on the same side? I bet Brandy has switched sides of the bed to not have to see the neck tattoo as much.
That's really funny. Yeah, I wonder if she made him get it on the side that she doesn't sleep on.
She like moved everything from the night table, and he's like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Just don't ask any questions. You can do what you want, and I can do what I want."
But yeah, that was a great episode of Dynamite. I can't wait for this week. Fyter Fest is 2 nights now, and just broadcast on TNT. That will be cool.
That's gonna be awesome.
All belts defended. They announced. So
nice. I like 2-night events, like over 2 weeks. That makes me happy. That's just more things to look forward to.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see. Like I mentioned to you, it'd be cool to see Cody in a two title defenses, since
that seems very likely.
Pushing such a I'm the workhorse. I'm going to defend this constantly. Cool that he has a title match lined up for this week.
What they should book is on Dynamite is like two the way they would kind of do it on WWE sometimes, 2 4-pack challenges to determine the 2 competitors, and maybe even then those competitors could fight to decide who gets to fight on the second night or something.
Almost
like
a King of the Ring. Yeah, totally.
I think that would be sweet. I love tournaments. I love number 1 contendership matches.
Speaking of tournaments, man, the Cruiserweight tournament on NXT over these past couple weeks has been such a cool way to jump back into watching the weekly program.
Yes, I almost wish we had gone back a little bit earlier and had started at the quarterfinals, not the semis.
Yeah, I don't know, like the idea of, there's something great about the idea of tournaments, because anytime that you, me, or Thomas talk about there should be a G1 style tournament in AEW for trios, or there should be a tag tournament that's like the G1 in AEW, I always think about that and think about how, I don't know why it's so appealing. I think it's because the matches are coming maybe or something, and maybe that's why Dynamite's so fun to watch too. Like, you get the match cards ahead of time.
I think there's a couple of reasons. As far as the G1 goes, you just know that there's going to be a bunch of dream matches that are going to happen. Like if they just start booking this person has to fight everyone else in the tournament, you start thinking about all the possible dream matches that could come up.
Yeah, and you get to kind of see, I guess that's what it is. It's like the G1, the G1's always going to deliver. And then even just simpler tournaments like the TNT title tournament, or this Cruiserweight tournament here, both of them were really exciting to watch and see develop. What did you think of the finals match on NXT TV this past week?
The finals I thought were really good, actually. I saw that you didn't really like them. I gave it a B+/A-, and John gave it a C+. So that's probably our biggest grade disparity ever.
I don't know. I did not. I liked Drake Maverick's story, but I found myself getting distracted by the fact that I wasn't sure if if I wasn't sure, I didn't think he was going to win because the promo he had in the beginning of the episode said something like, I don't care about dieting. I'm going to go have cake and cookies and just all of the commentary in that match. I was like, well, this is, if he loses and it is not hired anymore, this commentary is heartbreaking.
Right. Like he's one step away from being expelled from WWE.
Yeah. And then, so that I found a little distracting. Whereas like last week's Cruiserweight, the triple threat with Kushida, Maverick and Atlas, I liked that match way more than this finals match.
That was a better match, definitely, but it was also a different match. Like that was just a really fast-paced match, whereas I didn't feel like this one was necessarily like go go go. It was kind of more of a methodical takedown by
and I guess that's the kind of Cruiserweight super junior match that I like, is like fast-paced, like a sprint. Like I think Meltzer described Hiromu's style as a wrestling match worked as a sprint. And I feel like that's like the right way for a Cruiserweight finals match to happen. Like have it be like crazy moves, fast work rate, like lots of intense.
It might have just suffered a little bit in comparison to the last week, but I thought it was a solidly worked match. But I do have to say I was distracted afterwards. I felt like Drake Maverick was really like trying to cry. Like he just
totally.
And
I thought they were like when they first show him when he loses, it looks like he's fake crying.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you cried on camera because you thought you were going to lose your job, like on Instagram. So can you think you do that again at the end of the match?
Yeah.
Because it's your last match and you're fired.
Turns out I didn't love it.
It's not the case.
But yeah,
I didn't like that either.
But yeah,
and then it seemed like he like really cried at the end. Like it seemed like he actually cried after Triple H.
Papa H.
Do you think that Drake Maverick knew or did not know?
I absolutely think he knew. Like there's no way that happens like live on camera. You sign a contract. He signed that contract like 5 days ago, I bet.
Yeah, that's true. I guess he would also he probably would have had to be in on it playing out on screen as well. Like,
yeah,
that would be pretty insane if he didn't know. And I mean, I guess that's like the last like bastion of kayfabe is that like blending reality with storyline in a way where it's like, wow, maybe he didn't know, because he seemed like he was really crying at the very end. He seemed like he started bawling when Triple H raised his hand up in the air. But at that moment, it seemed like more so like something to cry about. Like, oh, I'm actually here now. I don't know. I'm excited to see what else he does. I would like to see him fight with Kushida. And do more in NXT in general. Like I think he would be interesting to put into like the North American title scene, have him go after.
What do you think of him losing?
I don't know. That to me felt very WWE.
Yeah, just like a swerve.
Yes, and that also and that's I think what I didn't like about the match. The match felt like it was in service to the bigger story they were telling, rather than a part of the story they were telling. Like,
right.
It felt like we got to get through this match. Let's get it over with, and now he can sign the contract and we can move on. Instead of like, let's have this awesome match. Drake Maverick will win. He'll be the new Cruiserweight champion, and on top of that, Triple H comes out. Here's the contract. You're the new champion. And you won this tournament, so we have to give you the that's, I don't know. That story is more satisfying to me than now.
Yeah, it seems a little bit like champion. Arbitrary. Like, oh, like you earned this. Like he didn't earn it before. Like, was he not a good wrestler before? Like, I don't know.
The whole lead up episode, like the go home show for NXT, to me felt too, like, I know it's a go-home show, so they have to build up all of the stories, which I appreciated the amount of segments, but I wish that there was more wrestling on this show this week.
You have to remember that you had the 60-minute version, because I saw a ton of wrestling on NXT. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches.
Wow, yeah, I think I've seen 3 or
7
4
matches.
I've seen half of the amount of matches you have.
So,
which I guess I like in retrospect, or I guess in that case, it sounds like you're getting a lot of like fluff, like filler matches.
Yes.
Whereas like I am only getting the matches that have story implications or that are building to something beyond in your house.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't care. I don't know. I guess like I liked the thing that I liked about the hour-long NXT was that it was like, okay, I'm going to get probably 2 matches that have big story implications, and then a couple throwaway matches where I'm introduced to someone new. And I guess that's what I missed, and I have missed. The one thing that I absolutely loved about the NXT TV this week was Io Shirai's package.
That was awesome.
I'm going to be the next NXT champion, and now she is the NXT champion. I don't know. Overall, I really enjoyed In Your House as a show.
Yeah, it's funny because it was, a pretty good show, but at the same time, it might be the weakest NXT Takeover that I can remember watching in the last year or so. Just because we got to the last match, and usually we have a few A- at least, but we hadn't given anything higher than a B+. Which for any other show, like for a WWE show, would be fantastic, but we've been sort of spoiled with these sort of 6-match, almost perfect
just like
cards.
Bangers. Yeah.
There was a sick Ico Pro ad in the middle of this thing that like gave
I
me
loved
a
all the
huge
throwback
pop.
stuff throughout this. Yeah,
that was awesome.
It's really cool that they're doing a lot of that kind of. I don't know. Within the last, I guess maybe just within like the coronavirus sort of era, it feels like they're willing to embrace more of the like nostalgia of their promotion, like with the Bray Firefly Funhouse match. Like I feel like a lot of that stuff they've done to a degree, but I feel like it's like, I don't know, the fact that they built a whole show, throwback graphics, and
Totally.
like little vignettes like that was really awesome.
And then we got a cinematic match as well with Cole versus Velveteen.
Yes, and I gotta say, I loved this match. It was really good.
I don't know, this match I liked portions of it. Portions of it felt a little too boneyard match for me. Like when the Undisputed Era like pulled up and then Dexter Lumis put them in the trunk of his car. I was like, does this match really need this?
A bit more wrestling. It felt very overbooked. Yeah, like I
a
wish
little bit more wrestling would have been nice in this wrestling match for sure.
Even just like fighting, like I liked the vignettes where they were like kind of dragging each other around along like the siding of the house, and just like, kind of punching each other. Yeah, like those spots were really cool. And I wish that there was more of them. And yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like we didn't need the Dexter Lumis involvement. Like, no. Velveteen's a star. He doesn't need someone like, even like someone that's like kind of like aligned with him for like a common cause. I feel like just let Velveteen shine. And
I'm worried that he is like at the tipping point now. Like I felt like that he kind of needed that belt. Like he's been around for quite some time. He's fought everybody. I've seen him take a lot of losses. I don't know where he goes from here. I wonder if this is just a way to clear him out of here so Karrion Kross can go for the title. I'll tell you what I would like to see is Finn beating Adam Cole and then Karrion taking it off Finn.
I would love that. Yeah. And then have various people feud with Keith Lee for the North American title and let Keith Lee be champ for a while until he gets called up to the main roster.
Karrion Kross versus Tommaso Ciampa was as close to a squash match as you can get.
It was like a competitive squash match.
Yeah.
Like Tommaso got some strikes in and a few moves, but like not.
It was like 3 minutes long.
Really
choked
cool
him
match.
out, basically. I might have given a different ending than just like kind of like a sleeper, but he looked powerful.
Yeah, I think it works.
He looked powerful. Totally. He ran over Ciampa, who's like arguably the greatest NXT
that was
champion ever.
Really cool to see because Tommaso is so often in the position of sort of the upper hand. People are usually fighting like upwards against Ciampa.
He's usually the scary, like crazy one.
Yeah,
totally.
And in this, there's no way he could have been.
Final match. Charlotte Flair or Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai. This was nonstop. This was easily match of the night.
I loved this match. Yeah. Well, and just like 3 top wrestlers going at it. It's like really cool. It's such a cool thing to see. And it's what a takeover match is. Like,
along with Asuka, I would say these are probably like the 3 best female wrestlers like on the roster. Io climbs to the top of the set and splashes.
Oh my god, that was crazy. Yeah, it's one throughout that she had a lot of big spots that made me think, I don't think she's gonna win. Like,
because she was gonna do all these cool stuff, but then she was gonna like lose to Charlotte and still look great. She had a huge springboard drop kick to Rhea's chest, just like stomped her down. That was awesome.
And I think moving forward, it's like you have this great story between Charlotte and if Charlotte stays in NXT, you have this great story of Charlotte and Rhea fighting each other for a number 1 contender spot.
Yeah.
And then you have everyone else on the card too, like Shotzi and Candice vying for that spot as well. I wonder though if Charlotte will stay in NXT, or if now, since Becky is leaving WWE, Charlotte will go back up to the main brand.
Oh, that's interesting. I never even thought of that. That actually might actually be why they took the title off of her. You're right.
I think that's probably more likely, and then Rhea will be main roster bound too. Who knows? I mean, she was certainly ready for that, right?
Interesting. Very interesting. I would recommend anyone to, even if you were going to skip this pay-per-view, to check out that Rhea Ripley Io Shirai Charlotte Flair match. Like,
yeah, really good.
Really awesome.
Their women's division always delivers, and that definitely was, that match made the whole show worth watching. Like, I mean, the show was, overall, I really loved In Your House.
John, hit me up with your classic match review.
Dude, Y2J Chris Jericho versus HBK Shawn Michaels in a ladder match at No Mercy 2008. Thank you for telling me to watch this, because this is an era that I didn't watch. Like, I was off of WWE probably from the early 2000s till like 2017, basically. So for almost 2 decades. It's cool going back and seeing Chris Jericho in this context after watching him, from Wrestle Kingdom to starting AEW.
Totally.
It's wild to think everywhere he's been and everything he's done.
Well, he's like the man of the he's like the David Bowie of wrestling.
Right.
Like, he's had so
I
many
don't think there's anybody else that can compare. Like,
no, I can't think of anybody.
The fact that it's like he's wrestled in every major promotion basically ever, like, is insane.
I want to just point out again that this is 6 months before the original HBK Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. So I consider this to be like Shawn Michaels at the peak of his return.
The match starts out really fast paced, really hard hitting. It was really fun to watch. It's like Jericho takes Michaels down to the arena floor, throws a ladder on top of him, then hits him with a lion tamer while he's under the ladder. We get like that classic Chris Jericho, like taunting and yelling, like, "Come on, Michaels! Come on, Michaels! What are you gonna do?" Yeah. I love, like, I don't know. I feel like not enough people do that. Like, Kevin Owens is really good about that. Alexa Bliss is good at that.
Oh, Kevin Owens is awesome.
Thinking of like
that.
Western wrestlers that do that, like scream in matches. Like, I feel like it's few and far between. Joey Janela, I feel like those people come to mind right away. And there's just so many spots throughout this. Like, at one point, Jericho gets busted open on the lip, and I don't think it didn't look like it was
worked.
No, yeah, it seemed, because it was just a small amount of blood that grew. It didn't become like a crimson mask or anything.
Yeah, anything not on the forehead is generally it
was
real.
Something in his mouth, and I think it happened on like a ladder, I believe. And they keep brawling like throughout the whole match. There's not a lot of rest holds, not a lot of like moments of, them like laying in a pile. Like, it's just nonstop, spot after spot after spot.
Yeah, they have incredible cardio on this one.
Yeah, it's wild. And it's 12 years ago, and Jericho's still pretty much going strong. He found a different way of working that still, lives up to this Jericho as well.
Oh, absolutely.
There's this crazy spot like halfway through it where HBK sets up a ladder by the announce table, but then Jericho backdrops Shawn from atop the ladder, and it's just complete car wreck. This is really maybe the one spot where the two do take like a break and are like on the ground. And then they run back into the ring. Jericho starts setting up a ladder, but then Michaels meets him inside. Michaels is on the top turnbuckle. Jericho brings the ladder over to the turnbuckle, and Michaels is kind of like trapped. So then Jericho drop kicks the ladder into his face.
Oh my God, brutal.
Ladder falls down, knocks Jericho over. Michaels then gets up, goes for the elbow drop, but Jericho moves the ladder in the way, and it looks like his elbow cut. I mean, it basically does. It comes down, his arm comes on the ladder, but his elbow hits it, and he seems like actually got hurt for a moment. Then Jericho sets Michaels up for a second rope moonsault onto the ladder. This is another spot where you'd think that they would like, all right, Jericho, we just did the sequence of like 3 big moves. Let's take a break.
Yeah.
But they just keep going. Like Jericho does that, and then he gets hurt because he does a moonsault onto Michaels onto the ladder, so he gets hurt too. Michaels gets hurt, kind of like rolls out of the way, sets up the ladder, starts climbing the ladder, but then Lance Cade crashes in.
Someone who's had even more of a storied career than Chris Jericho, Lance Cade.
Yeah.
Who just keeps reinventing himself.
I had to look up his name to even write down who he was.
I have no idea who that is.
And I still don't know who he is really. I just, did some light research on him. But he seemed that spot, I don't know. It's a weird choice because this is like the end of the match basically. So Michaels is climbing, Jericho's down after the moonsault. Lance Cade crashes in, pulls Michaels down. It seemed like a spot manufactured so Michaels could throw down a Sweet Chin music.
Yep.
Sweet Chin music on Lance Cade. Lance Cade rolls out of the ring, but now Jericho has recovered. Jericho climbs. They meet at the top. HBK throws a punch. Jericho throws a punch. They kind of go back and forth with punches. They both grab the title. This ending sequence here is really cool. Like I feel like this is my favorite part of ladder matches, when you have these moments of like, you truly don't know which one of them is going to win. And I personally didn't know who won this going into this, so I wasn't sure what the outcome was going to be. And they're at the top of the ladder, and Jericho is grasping the edge of the title and like dangling, kind of, his feet are still on the ladder, but he's dangling with all his weight from the edge of the title. And Michaels has the other hand, and he's like wrenching it back his way. So he's kind of moving Jericho, and Jericho's weight is pulling Jericho back. And they kind of like seesaw back and forth. And those moments, the dramatic moments like that, where it's like, this could really easily like go wrong.
Go very bad.
What if, what if Jericho slips? Because ultimately Y2J wins, but like what would happen if he like accidentally like, slipped, fell off, and HBK's holding the title? Then is HBK the champion? But ultimately Jericho kind of like reestablishes a hold on the title, gets up back onto the ladder, headbutts Michaels. Michaels falls off the ladder. Jericho holds the title high. Lillian Garcia announces Y2J as the dominant heavyweight champion. And at this point, Jericho's face, he's actually like been wiping the blood all over his face. So it's not like, still isn't like completely covered, but it's like cool kind of Braveheart, just like blood covered face. And yeah, it was a really great match. They give it an A. Really happy I got to watch it. It's really fun, like, in retrospect now, being able to go back to that era and all of these different WWE eras that I didn't watch, and like seeing a match that I don't know the outcome of, being able to see a package and then seeing it sort of unfold in a way. One of the ways that I personally gauge whether or not a wrestling match is good, because I always am drawing during every match, is the amount of time I spend drawing versus the amount of time I actually watch the match. And I pretty much just watched that match all the way through because it was such a sprint to the end.
John, do you have a classic match recommendation for me before we wrap this party up?
I do, and I can't wait for you to watch it, and I don't think you have seen it yet. I know that I mentioned it to you before, but I don't know if you actually went and watched it on the
There's a good chance
New
I
Japan
haven't.
World website. So the match took place at Wrestling Dontaku 1993. The World Wrestling Federation heavyweight champion Hulk Hogan travels to Tokyo to face the IWGP, the International Wrestling Grand Prix heavyweight champion, the Great Muta, in a very classic match that I absolutely love, and I think you will too.
I've been wanting to watch some Hogan in New Japan because I hear he just kind of like, he rips it up. He's like more mat based, right?
Yeah, He does. I mean, a lot of the it's just cool to see him do. He does wrestling moves, like he does like grapples and holds and like all kinds of stuff he did not do with his like 3 or 4 move set in the WWE. It's cool to see.
I love this because, you know, I don't have a high opinion of Hulk Hogan as a wrestler, so I love the idea of like, oh, show me a really good Hulk Hogan match.
And I've been trying to pick matches
you know what I mean?
that like are probably New Japan matches that you haven't seen, which, because I know like a lot of the history of the company you're not very familiar with since you've been watching it since, you know, Jericho, Omega.
Totally.
And
yeah, I've been watching it for not
so
even a year.
I think it'll be a cool way for you to go back and see it all.
Yeah, no, I want to learn so much about that. I want to learn more about WCW, ECW. I want to soak this stuff up like a sponge. This has been another edition of the Torture Wracked podcast. You can follow John at John F. Malta on all social media. You can follow me at Waste of Taste on Instagram. And you can follow Torture Wracked at Torture Wracked on Instagram. We'll see you next week for some more wrestling.